morning, everybody. I'm Kiemi Sato with Remax, and I'm really excited today to bring this video to you. Vickie and I have been planning this for some time. She's a local lender here with Academy Mortgage, and I'm just really excited to interview her. Our plan today is to teach and give you some tips to success on buying. Unfortunately, there are a lot of buyers out there who don't take that plunge because they're just too scared of the unknown. So I introduce, for those who don't know her, Vickie Nunez.
Hi, thank you, Kim, for having me.
Yes.
So let's just get started then.
Awesome. So one of the things that I have found in working with a lot of the clients that I have, as you know, obviously buyers are on your end, but the process itself has a lot of details that are really intricate, and I feel that because people's certain credits and in history and past, and what do I qualify for, what do I not qualify for, really limits the buying pool. And I think there's a group of people who want to, but just don't know where to start and what to do. So the questions that I have for you today are questions I commonly get from my clients. Of course, I know the answer, but I thought we could share them with the world today, as well as some questions that maybe I don't commonly get, but I feel like are holding people back. So the first one I thought I would ask is, what are the first steps and what can I expect throughout the process of home buying?
So the first step is just taking the first step. You just have to call a lender,
Okay.
a local lender. You can always call me. But just taking that step and finding out where you stand. Trust me, I've seen everything from, super excellent buyer that's got over 800 credit scores with, 50% down, to somebody that I coach through that starts at a 500 credit score, and we work on getting their credit repaired, and then they get into a home. So it's the whole spectrum. You just have to take that step and find out where you stand.
Sure.
Because until you do, you don't know.
Right. Why do you think people are limited in reaching and making that first step? I think, I have people who have asked me 5-6 times for a lender, and it's the same person. And for me, there's only so much I can do as an agent. And this is what we rely on Vickie. I work with her a ton with my clients, so I do encourage you to reach out to her if you do have questions. But why are people, what is keeping them from calling you? They have your number, they have your information, they maybe know you personally.
It's fear. It's just,
Okay.
I don't want somebody to see, what I've done with my life if my credit's a mess.
Sure.
But the thing is, when I sit down with somebody, it's all private. It never goes anywhere but with me. And I've been doing this for, a long time.
Sure.
I'm not gonna tell you how long. But the biggest thing is to find out where you stand.
Right.
And we have lots of options. So let's say your credit score is a little low. Okay, so we have options once I run your credit report that says, it's called the what if simulator. So I click on a button and it says, if they pay this credit card down to this amount, and they pay this credit card down to this amount, then we can do what's called a rapid rescore, and their credit scores will go up.
Okay.
So that almighty credit score is what rules your interest rate, the type of program you're gonna be in, what is required down. So you wanna get your credit as good as you possibly can. And if you have no credit, then I can coach you through what
Sure.
you need to do to get credit and to get good credit so that it's reporting well and putting you in a place where you can buy a home. Because that's the ultimate goal for most everyone, is to just own their own home.
Yes, I agree. I think another limiting factor with regards to the credit is there's this theory that having your credit pulled a couple of times, or however many times, is going to really ding you. Now, I know as a buyer myself, a seller myself, and an agent, your credit is pulled a couple of times throughout the process. So how would that affect somebody that has really good credit versus not good credit when you first start pulling those preliminary numbers?
So when a lender pulls credit, that credit report is good for 120 days.
Okay.
So unless you go to multiple lenders, it should only be pulled once.
Okay.
And then we don't re-pull again before you close on a loan, because we have a tracking system that says, let's say you went out in the middle of buying process and bought a new car.
Sure.
So
Which is a no-no.
That's a no-no. We're gonna get a report back from our credit bureaus that monitor your credit during the course of our transaction that says this person potentially has undisclosed debt.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna reach out to you and say, hey, Mr. Borrower, did you by chance go buy furniture, or open a new account, or buy a new car? And then we have to address it appropriately.
Sure.
If they didn't do anything, we just write that they didn't do anything. But if you did buy something, then it's going to affect your debt to income ratio. So it's really important during the buying process to not go out and get any new credit. Really important.
And meaning new credit is a new credit card, buying something, going to Lowe's and buying appliances, absolutely nothing.
Opening new credit.
Opening new credit, yes.
Don't do that at all.
Don't do that at all,
No.
yes.
No.
So as far as an average credit score, this is a question I often get asked too, is what is an average credit score is the first question, so we'll start there.
Well, they always have like degrees. You'll see those little Credit Karma wheels that will tell you, you know, the low end of the spectrum is anything below 580, because you need to be at 580 to do some kind of a loan. So anything above 580, there's probably a program that would fit for you.
Perfect.
And if we want to make it, you know, a better interest rate or a better program, then we work with you to get your credit scores up. But yeah, you have to be at 580.
Okay, so anything below that 580, you're going to be working with this individual on credit repair.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I would do.
And the other thing too I share, and I can't stress enough, is that there's no such thing as not being able to buy. You know, I've actually heard from people who have gone to a lender, a large bank, and they've gone and they have not qualified, and that person has just felt really down. Now, whether they choose to go and ask or seek a second opinion is unfortunate, because a lot of times they don't. But I have also seen numerous times people going to these larger banks, not qualifying, and going for a second opinion and qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let,
Yes.
you know, one time, you know, seek other opinions, seek someone who's local like Vickie. You know, reaching out to some of these larger banks can be a little bit more difficult, because at least in my opinion, they're limited on the things they can do for you. Someone like Vickie, I feel like, has more ability to do more for you, and to, not to work harder, but
Well, it's a one-on-one experience. Sometimes when you call a larger lender, you're getting a phone bank. And so you're in this area. I've been here for, you know, my entire life. So I know most everyone here. And so I'm gonna work with you, and you can come in and sit down with me and go through things. So it's not like you're set out with a list of to-dos and no direction what to do.
sure.
You can always call me and say, hey Vickie, I was thinking about doing this, what do you think? And then, you know, I'm gonna tell them how it will play into their scenario. But it's very, very, very satisfying when you take someone who has struggled with credit, struggled with a down payment, and then, you know, in 6 months, they've followed the program that we set out, and now they're buying a house.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest joy for me, is
Absolutely.
when someone who didn't think that they were ever gonna get into that position actually gets into the position to be handed some keys for a house, which is an incredible feeling.
It is, and there's a few of you that are going to be watching this today that are watching for these specific reasons. Please reach out, because just like she said it, that's what's really rewarding for us. And you know, whether you have great credit or not so great credit, there is something that can help you.
And I think that once this is posted, I have a couple flyers that we can add into the comments. One's the do's and don'ts, and then one is how to repair your credit.
Sure.
So we can stick those in the comments afterwards, and then you guys can have a list of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing to help your situation when you're purchasing a home.
Yes, absolutely. The other component is that a lot of times when you first get going with the home buying process, you know, it's a lot. There's a lot of documentation that's needed, and maybe you weren't the best at hanging on to all of these things, but there's a way to get those. There's a way to get your W-2s. There's a way to get your old bank statements. So don't let the list of things you need to provide to Vickie scare you either, because that's also very feasible. The youngest buyer I worked with was 20 years old. Had no credit. I mean, she just started from the ground up, and it was really satisfying to work with her and get her approved, and she bought a home on acreage. So
that's the best thing. There's no, if you're really, really wanting to buy a home and you put that as your priority, you can do it. You can go from point A to point B. You just have to listen to people who have been there or who are experienced at it, who know the steps that you need to take. And it's very satisfying, like you said, to take a 20-year-old and be able to put them in a home. I don't think that there's anybody that can't buy a home if they put their mind to it.
Sure.
If they really want, if that's their ultimate goal, then there's a home out there for them, and there's a way to get it.
And there's a program, lots of programs.
Lots of programs.
We're gonna get into programs on a later video, but we really just wanted to target some of these things. And like Vickie's saying, if this is a priority for you, you can get there.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it for you. There are steps. I will say, on the agent side, I hear all too often, oh my gosh, buying a house is so stressful. It was the most stressful time of my life, and I challenge that. I challenge that response because I feel like if you work with someone that you trust, that is experienced and knows what they're doing, it's fun. We make it fun.
Rarely do I have to go back to customers and get documentation. I usually get, there's a needs list that I give them, and it will definitely help you with the process. It will definitely show you what documents you need to bring in. Always be prepared for 2 years of W-2s, 30 days worth of pay stubs, 2 months worth of bank statements, and your ID. That's about all you need to get started.
Sure.
So it's definitely a very doable process. It's really not that stressful. If it's stressful, you're working with the wrong people.
Exactly. You're working with the wrong team. And in this industry, it is a team. So you have your lender. That's the first step you take. The first step you take is choosing a lender that you trust and that you can work with solidly on a personal level. And then, of course, your agent, which me, of course, right?
That's why we're teaming. But it's definitely so important that realtors across the board have someone that they trust, someone that they work with who knows how to get people from point A to point B.
Right.
And you guys have always been in Mason County very skilled at that, making sure that people know where to go to get real answers. And I always appreciate that. I always appreciate whether it's me or another local lender. I think that working with someone who's local gives you a foot up because you are definitely going to get someone who knows the challenges in this area and how to overcome them.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think that's the best thing that you can do is team up and work towards home ownership.
Yeah, it's a team effort, and it's really exciting and really fun, and that's why we've been so excited to do this. And you guys, at the end of this, we'll provide you Vickie's information, and most of you already have mine. But to reach out if you have more questions, it'll help us to simulate more content for further videos. A couple other questions that I had still. She's going to be providing the what should I not do. I think both of our answers for what should I not do is not asking questions and not reaching out. Whether you reach out to me first or her first, just take that step. It's free, it's private, you will be doing yourself a favor by actually taking that step and reaching out. So for some of you that I've given phone numbers to, please take that step. Honestly, you'll do yourself a favor there. So we've kind of talked a lot about the credit, and I hear often, well, I have poor credit, or I don't have any money for a down payment, or I don't even know what my credit is. So I think this kind of reverts back to you've got to take the first step from Vickie to find out find out what you qualify for and where you are.
And that's what we're here for. We want to sit down with people and we want to go through your scenario because everybody is different. The one thing that always drives me just a little crazy is when someone will come in and say, well, so-and-so got this. Well, everybody's scenario is different. You have to realize that your scenario is never going to be the same as your next door neighbor or as your friend that you work with. Each person is individual, and you have to be able to just compartmentalize yourself and put yourself in your own scenario and what works for you. So never try and compare what you're doing with someone else who's buying a house because like I said, everybody's different. You need to be able to explore all the programs. What works best for you is not going to work best for your neighbor next door. It's just finding the individual personalized service that's going to work for you.
Sure. And I love that she pointed out your situation is different from everybody else's. So whether it's somebody that you work with, whether it's someone that's the same age as you, same tax bracket, financial bracket, you are not the same as them. And the program, you may differ, the process may differ. And so it's never good to compare yourself to anyone else's buying situation, anyone else's buying timeline. Everything varies. And so that's important too, knowing that it is individual. The other component and question I get often is, once you have a lender, do you stay with that lender throughout the whole process? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Unless something happens, something catastrophic happens, or you get to a point where I don't want to step over too much here.
I think that when as long as you are working with a lender that knows what they're doing and you feel confident working with them, you're not going to want to change. You're going to want to stay with someone who knows your scenario, knows what you need to have done, and works personally one-on-one with you. You don't want to hopscotch around to a bunch of different lenders because they're going to run your credit, and that's going to ding your credit score a bit. But you want to stay with someone who's focused on what you need and not someone, because you heard that, ABC lender down the road had something else. It's you have to be confident with the person you're working with, and that's my biggest thing. I always want people to walk away feeling educated, validated, and understood, because I think that that's the biggest thing for a lender, is to make sure that you hear what people are saying. I always am trying to find out what works best for them, what is their need, what's most important to them. Is it your payment, is it your interest rate, the type of program you're doing? All those things take into consideration what you're gonna have done on your buying scenario. So that's where, when you can sit down with someone and look at them in the eye and know that they're listening to you and hearing you, then you're gonna end up with the loan and a lifetime loan or lender. That person's gonna be working with you forever. When you're ready to move up or you're ready to scale down, you've got someone that you can go to that understands you and knows who you are.
Exactly. And like she was saying, you retain that lender over time, right? Anytime you decide to move or change, or even if you want to refinance, that's also a big question I get often. And the thing is you're not gonna, I can't stress enough about the fact of choosing a lender and sticking with that lender, but just taking that first step. The other piece that we don't want to get too much into, because it's a lot of details, but there are many programs out there. You've all heard these: FHA, VA, conventional, USDA, and not every loan requires a down payment. So just wanted to quickly state that. She can vouch for that as well. That's a huge misconception on people's behalf, is that I don't have any money to bring to the table. So a little bit on that she can get into.
There are lots of programs that have zero down. There's the Washington State Housing Finance Commission Down Payment Assistance Program. There's FHA, which is like 3.5% down, but it can be gifted. USDA is 100% financing. VA, obviously you have to be a veteran or active military to use that loan, but it's zero down. So there's lots of different programs out there. Conventional is the bucket that the normal person falls into. You know, you've got the 20% down, you've got the 800 credit score. That's the easy bucket. You know, that's the easy one. The other ones are great loans. They're all great loans. It's just what fits your scenario. Again, that's when you need a lender that knows which program's going to work best for you.
Right. So you don't necessarily designate what program works best for you. That's where the professional comes in. Yeah. And depending on the home that you're interested in, the other component is that not all sellers will choose to have those loan options for you. So that's the other reason why it's important to work with a trusted and experienced realtor. And we're a team. So the cool thing about Vickie and I's relationship and lender and realtor relationship is that once you get started with us, we've now taken you under our wing and we're going to do the work for you. So we're going to work behind the scenes like crazy to get this deal closed, and we're going to reach out to you when we need things here and there. Certainly shouldn't be stressful. It should be fun. It should be exciting. And it shouldn't be something that you're losing sleep over. But I honestly, taking the first step, I think that's the most important message, at least for me, to send today with you guys.
I think that's the biggest message. Is just take that first step. Call me, get pre-approved, or get on the counseling, program, what you need to do with your credit, or you're ready to buy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if there are any of you out there that are interested in the flyers that she was talking about, please comment or email or get a hold of us somehow. We can get those out to you. Also, we would love if you had other questions that we didn't get to today to please reach out. We plan to have a couple of these sessions just because there is so much detail. And I was really grateful. I had actually posted one post, and it was something along the lines of, not all loans require a down payment. And I can't tell you the number of people who reached out to me privately and were like, oh my gosh, really? Yeah. And so that's really what encouraged this. And then it started me thinking about all of these other questions that people have, that we do this every day. We do this every day. So for us, we're not necessarily thinking of these questions that people might not think to ask or might not know to ask. And so that's where we're coming in here. Really excited about it. So please reach out if you have questions, if you're wanting any of these brochures, if you're wanting Vickie's contact information, definitely provide that for you. Do you have anything else to add?
No, just take that step.
Yeah,
thank you for the opportunity to do this. I know it's really fun. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, I've been very excited, and we're excited to do this again. So we encourage your questions, your comments, anything that we can provide for you. Please reach out. Thanks again, you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.